Have you ever been in a learning environment, maybe a classroom or even professional training, where these subtle negative behaviors just sort of zapped the energy?
Oh, definitely.
Or worse, really undermined your ability to learn and, grow? I know I have. It can feel awful.
Yeah. It's not always the big obvious stuff either.
Exactly. It's not always overt bullying. Sometimes it's those little uncivil acts that just pile up. Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly this problem: academic incivility, specifically within the demanding field of nursing education.
A really critical area.
For sure. We'll be unpacking a crucial new research study. They've actually developed and validated a tool to measure this very specific problem. It feels like a huge step toward, well, creating better learning environments.
Yeah, our mission here is really to understand the Incivility in Nursing Education Revised Survey, or INE-R for short. This study validated it for use in Turkish nursing programs.
Okay.
And we'll explore what that validation actually means for improving the academic environment for future nurses. It's quite important.
Right. But before we jump into the tool itself, let's maybe clarify. When we talk about incivility in, say, a classroom or a clinical setting, what are we really defining? Is it just being rude?
That's a really good question,
Oh.
because it's important to get that it's not just outright bullying or, violence.
Okay.
The research often points to these subtler behaviors, things like dismissive comments, maybe sarcasm, ignoring questions even, things that genuinely disrupt learning.
Hmm.
And it's quite widespread. More than half of nurses actually report witnessing it or experiencing it themselves.
Oh, over half. And what's the actual impact of that on a student? Someone trying to become a nurse, learning really critical skills for patient care.
Well, the impact is significant. It really hinders their learning experience. It diminishes their self-esteem, their self-efficacy, their confidence,
Yeah, I can see that.
and it can even affect their motivation, their drive to become professional nurses in the first place.
Yeah.
Think about it. This isn't just about someone being impolite. It directly affects the quality of future nursing care.
That's a really powerful link. So it's not just the student's feeling, it could actually impact patient safety down the line.
Absolutely. It impacts patient safety, public trust. It's a big deal, which is why having a precise way to measure it is so crucial.
Right, you need to measure it to manage it.
Exactly. So to tackle this, researchers need a reliable way to gauge the problem. And that's where this INE-R survey comes in. It was originally developed by Clark back in 2015,
Okay.
and it's pretty comprehensive. It looks at incivility from both the student and the faculty perspectives, which is interesting. And it covers both the classroom and clinical settings.
So it covers different angles. How is it structured?
It's got 24 items, and they're broken down into low-level and high-level incivility behaviors, things ranging from, eye-rolling maybe up to more serious issues.
And this study we're looking at, they adapted it for Turkey, right? What does that actually involve? Sounds like more than just running it through Google Translate.
Oh, absolutely not. It's a very rigorous process. Translating and culturally adapting a tool like this, it involves multiple steps. You have independent translators, then reviews by nursing faculty, language specialists.
Wow.
And in this case, they even got feedback from the original developer, Clark. It's all about making sure the nuances of language and culture are captured correctly. So the survey actually measures what it's supposed to measure, but in that specific Turkish context.
That makes sense. You need that cultural fit. So after all that careful work, what did they find when they tested this INE-R with Turkish nursing students?
Well, they tested it with a good number, 522 nursing students from 11 different universities across Turkey.
Okay.
And the core finding, it's really positive for the faculty behavior form of the INE-R. That's the part where students rate their instructors' behavior.
So that part worked well.
Extremely well. The psychometric properties for that form were excellent.
Okay, psychometric properties sounds a bit technical. Can you break that down quickly for us? What does that mean in practice?
Sure thing. Think of psychometric properties as basically the scientific seal of approval for a survey. It tells you if the tool is valid, does it measure what it claims to measure, and reliable, does it measure it consistently.
Got it. Valid and reliable, like a good scale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for validity, the study confirmed that 24-item, two-factor structure, remember, low-level and high-level incivility. It fit the data really well. Statistically, they got a CFI of 0.97, an RMSEA of 0.06. Those numbers basically scream, this tool works structurally as intended.
That sounds impressive.
It is. And for reliability, excellent internal consistency. The Cronbach's alpha was 0.95 for the whole scale. That tells you the items are measuring the same underlying thing very consistently, like a really reliable measuring tape.
Okay.
And it was stable over time, too. They did a test retest, and there were no significant differences, so consistent results.
That's great. So a really solid tool for students to report on their experiences with faculty behavior. Was it equally successful across the board for all parts of the survey?
Ah, that's a crucial point. And here's where we hit a limitation in this particular study. While the faculty behavior form students rating faculty was great,
Yeah.
the student behavior form of the INE-R, when it was given to faculty to rate student incivility, well, it did not meet the desired standards for something called construct validity in this study.
Construct validity. Okay, what does that mean?
It essentially asks, does this part of the tool genuinely measure the underlying concept student incivility as intended in this specific context? And in this case, for the faculty rating students part, it didn't quite align with the original scale structure as well as hoped.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So it seems it's a really robust tool for students to report on faculty incivility in this Turkish adaptation, but maybe less so for faculty reporting on students based on this specific study's findings.
Okay, so there's a nuance there. But even with that specific finding, what's the big takeaway, the breakthrough?
The big breakthrough is that this study gives Turkey its very first properly validated tool to assess uncivil faculty behaviors as perceived by nursing students.
That seems huge. A starting point they didn't have before.
It really is. This tool is vital now. Nursing schools there can use it to actually assess the current climate of incivility, to draw attention to the whole concept of civility, and, importantly, pave the way for developing protocols, ways to prevent these behaviors and really foster a culture of respect. It gives them concrete data to work with.
A foundation to build on. So thinking about this for you, our listener, whether you're in school now or in a professional setting, this deep dive really brings up an important point, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Consider how absolutely foundational that academic environment is for shaping future professionals, especially in high-stakes fields like nursing. A tool like this INE-R, even with its specific nuances, like the difference between the student and faculty forms in the study, it can be such a crucial first step. A step towards creating a more supportive, more respectful learning space in any field, really. It makes you think, doesn't it? What's maybe one small, seemingly insignificant, uncivil act you could consciously counter with civility today?